are back for episode 3, and if you remember in the last episode, we left our Teddy walking around the map, patrolling from point to point, but it was all a bit boring, and if we approached him, we didn't do anything. But this time, if we walk up to him, he's going to chase after us, and if we let him catch up with us, he's going to strike us down. And not only that, but he doesn't automatically know where we are. So if I'm behind this wall, he won't actually see me. But if I make myself known to him, he's going to lock on. He's going to follow me. And then if I duck behind this wall over here, he's going to lose sight of me and then carry on patrolling. So how did I do all of this? Well, keep watching and I'll show you how I got here. Okay, now before we can do anything, we've got a bug to fix. Now you might notice our Teddy can walk a little oddly sometimes, and it looks like the animation is glitching, and he sort of moves all slowly and oddly. And this had me bugged for a little while. I couldn't figure out why this was happening, but it's actually to do with network ownership. Now, ROBLOX has these kind of areas of control for each player. So around each player, there's a certain radius, and they control all the physics within it. Now, the problem with this Teddy is that he's switching back and forth between the server and the client, and it's sort of creating this delay here. So all we need to do to fix this is we can go into our AI script here, and we can say Teddy.primary part, which is the humanoid root part, and then we want to call the function setNetworkOwner. Now you can see this takes a player, so we could give a player here, but actually want it to be on the server. So we can just set it to nil, and it'll default to being on the server. And now when you run the game, what you'll see is the Teddy keeps moving slowly. And even if we get all up close to him and try and get in his way, well, he's still going to keep moving slowly because now it's all hosted on the server and it's not switching back and forth. Super. Okay, now for some fun stuff. So let's try and find some players to hunt down. So I'm going to create a new function right at the top here, local function, and we're going to call it find target, okay? And what this is going to do is it's going to start off by looping through all of the players. So we can do this by getting the players, local players be equal to game.players, and then we can call the function on it get players. So it's kind of like the get children function for a model. So it gives us a table of everyone in the game. And we don't want to just get any character. We want to have some kind of conditions here. So we're going to set a maximum distance, local max distance, and we'll set that to 40. So that's in studs. If the player is 100 studs away, then we're not interested. They need to be close to the Teddy in order to be considered a target. And then finally, we're going to have a variable local nearest target, and we'll set that equal to nil. And if you've got a variable that's nil, you can actually just leave it blank like that, and it'll automatically be nil as you've defined it. Okay, and then we want to loop through all of the players. So we're going to say for index player in pairs, and then we're going to use that players table. And what we want to do is we want to find the closest player, okay? So let's start off by saying if player.character. Ooh, I've accidentally created these double brackets here. So if player.character, because there might not be a character yet, so we'll check that it's there. Then we want to create a variable. So we'll say local target. In this case, local target will equal the player.character, and then we want to calculate the distance from our Teddy to our target. So we can say local distance equals, so the formula for this is that we subtract the position of one from the other. So we can say Teddy dot humanoid root part dot position minus the target, and this will be exactly the same, dot humanoid root part dot position. And so that's one vector minus the other. And then if we say dot magnitude, then we can get the length of that vector, which will be the distance. And so then what we need to do is we need to check if that distance is less than the max distance we've set. So we want to see if it's within that 40 stud radius. And if it is, then first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the nearest target variable, which was nil initially, and now we want to set that to target, okay? So this will be our new nearest target. And then when we've done that, we're going to reduce the value of the max distance. So although it was 40 initially, we're then going to set the new value of max distance to the current distance. So on the next loop round, we want to check if that player is not closer than 40, but is actually closer than however far away this player is over here. Okay, and then once we've done all this looping through all the players, at the very end, we're going to just return the nearest target. So it could be nil if there's no players that meet all this criteria, or it will return whatever the value that we've set. Okay, so that's the find target function, and now we just want to call that. So what we could do is we could call it in our wait loop to start off with. So we can say if, well actually let's create a variable, so local target equals find target, so whatever this returns, this variable will be equal to, and then if the target, then let's just print out the target.name, okay? And then if we go ahead and run this, and we'll chase down the teddy, and when we enter the radius, we should hopefully see when he gets to the next point, our name will appear. Now, he's only going to do the checking when he gets to each point. He's not actually checking while he's walking. You see, there my name has appeared again. So instead of doing it inside this while loop, which is every half second, we could actually move this, Control X, and move it into the walking loop, okay? So how about we put it in here? So now on every waypoint that the teddy moves to while it's patrolling, it's going to check if there's a target. So how about we make this a bit clearer? We could say print target found, big capitals, and the target name, and then we're going to say else, and then we want them to just continue moving on, carry on patrolling, and we could even print out where they're moving to. So that would be the waypoint dot position. We could say moving to waypoint dot position. And now when I run the game, you can see all the moving to variables, and hopefully as we start to approach, we should see our name appear in the output. There we go, target found GnomeCode. That's printed a bunch of times. You can see the teddy has stopped because we added that if and else statement. Well, he's not going to move anymore. But of course, we don't just want to print out our target's name. That's pretty boring. What we actually do is we want to attack that player. So let's create a new variable, shall we? And we'll call this local function attack. And that's going to expect a target parameter. And the first thing I'm going to want to do is actually calculate the distance again in this attack function. So I'm just going to copy and paste the formula we came up with here. Now, if I was going to use this a lot of times, I could probably use a separate function just for this, but we're only using it twice, so we'll keep using it for now. And then I want to check if the distance is greater than 8, then, and I've worked this number out for my character size, because my character is a little bit bigger, so 8 studs from our humanoid root part to theirs is about right for in our case. And then if it's greater than 8, then I want the humanoid to move to that position. So teddy.humanoid root part dot position. Sorry, target.humanoid root part dot position. And if this is not the case, if it's the teddy is further away than 8 studs, then we'll add an else. That means we must be really close. So in that case, I actually want to kill the player. So we can say target.humanoid .health, and we're going to set this straight to 0. Kill them instantly, okay? So all we need to do now is call this function. We can copy that and go down here. And once we've printed out that, we can attack the target. And then finally, one thing we need to do is need to break out of this loop, because otherwise this is going to be equal to true, and then it's just going to go on to the next waypoint, which we don't want. So we can add in the break keyword, which will stop this loop from running and just attack. Okay, let's see if that works then. Okay, we're going to approach him now. And you can see our Teddy locks on and he starts chasing after us. Like so. And you can see there's a little bit delay as he sort of corrects to where we were because we're inside of that while wait 0.5 loop, is it? So you probably want to make that maybe a little bit shorter. And another thing we're going to need to correct is if I walk behind the wall here, I can probably get him completely stuck and he's not going to be able to move because our robot is a bit basic and it doesn't really understand that it needs to go backwards. So it's just going to get stuck on that wall. But if we do allow him to attack, well, it's going to kill us off. So we know that part's working. Okay, so let's see if we can stop him getting stuck on the walls. If we go down here to our path in the walk to function, what we can actually do is we can add in an if statement here. So we'll check if the path dot status equals enum dot path status dot success equals, sorry, this is a comparison. Then we want to walk. If it's not a success though, which is quite possible, because obviously our parameters are fairly limiting in that there has to be a radius of 4 around it, and our player can't jump, so he can get stuck quite easily. What we're going to do is we're going to try and walk him back 10 studs in the direction he came from, okay? So we can say humanoid move to, and we'll set this equal to his current position, or teddy.humanoid report dot, well actually not his current position, but the C-frames look vector, okay? And we're going to take that off our current destination. So our destination from this function, destination.position, and then take away wherever we're currently pointing, multiplied by 10. And the 10 is the amount of studs we want to go back. Wherever we're currently heading, I want to go 10 studs in the opposite direction of that. And close the bracket off. And then give it a try. And now he's going to be moving along. He's going to find us. He's going to keep running. And then if we try and duck in behind this wall here, he's going to actually unstick himself from the wall. You see he walks backwards. And he's going to keep walking backwards from that wall now because he doesn't actually know how to get around. If we walk all the way back over here, he should go back to patrolling in a minute. There we go. He started patrolling. And then if we move in again, he's going to get stuck on the wall. And then he's going to come back and find a way around. Super. Now the next thing I'd like to do is add in those animations that you might remember we created in the first episode. Now I've cheated a bit here and I've already got my animation here. Obviously you can do this by going to the ROBLOX page, getting your animation, copying the link to it, and then just pasting the ID in here. Okay, so now we've got this animation inside of the AI script. All it's a case of doing is going to our attack function, and just before we set the health to 0, we can load in that animation. So we can say local attack anim will be equal to the humanoid load animation, and then the animation is script dot attack. And so then all we need to do is say attack animation play, and then set the health to 0. So now when he attacks us, the animation will play. But then he keeps standing around us, and it's a bit like he keeps trying to attack us, even though we're dead. You can see he's still there and he's still trying to attack us, which is a bit of a problem. So we need to check if the thing is alive or dead. So let's go and have a look in this function here. Well, we're checking if there's a target, but then before we call this attack function, we probably want to check if the target has any health. So instead of just saying if target, let's say if target and target.humanoid.health is greater than 0, then we'll consider it a target and we'll attack. So now if I run up to him, I let him kill me, and then he's going to walk on, continuing patrolling. So now I've got our animations and our attacking working, but it's a bit rubbish in that if we're behind a wall, he's still trying to approach us, and he's going to walk back and forth against the wall like that, and well, that just looks plain rubbish. Now we could have him pathfind around the walls like he does for these destination points. But I don't think our Teddy is that smart. He's just a dumb monster. And also, it's a bit boring if the Teddy always knows where you are and he can just magically find a route to you. So I think he should only be able to see you when you're in plain sight of him. How can we do this? Well, we need to use something called raycasting. Okay, so one final function then, right up at the top. We're going to write this one, and it's going to be local function can see target. And we're going to take the target as a parameter. And we're going to create this ray, okay? So we'll do local ray equals ray.new. And what this takes is an origin and a direction parameter, okay? An origin and a direction. So we'll create two variables for that. The origin is where we're starting from. So we know we're going to be starting from the teddy.thehumanoid root part .position, okay? And the direction is where it's going to travel, because a ray is essentially a line from one point that just extends out infinitely in one direction, okay? So local direction, and we can calculate that by taking the position of the Teddy, subtracting the position of the target. So we can do target dot humanoid root part dot position, and then what we're going to do is say dot unit, which reduces it down to simple form and just 1, and they'll multiply that by 40, so it travels in just 40 studs. And then all we're going to do is we're going to see if this ray hits anything. Okay, so we'll use local hit and position. So this is like a double variable essentially, equals workspace, and then we call this find part on ray function. Now you can use an ignore list or a whitelist, but we can just use the basic find part on ray, and the arguments that we're going to give it are the ray itself, and then we want it to ignore the Teddy. So you can give it a singular thing to ignore. If you want to ignore multiple things, then you can use the ignore list. So once we've done this ray, we want to check then if hit has returned anything. So we say if hit, then, so we know that the ray has hit something. Now this could be the player or it could be a wall. So we'll check if hit is descendant of, and we can check if it's a descendant of the target. So then we know that it's hitting the player. Then in that case, we'll return true, okay? Otherwise, if there's no hit, so hit's going to be returning nil, we'll return false. So they can't see the target. And then all we need to do is call this function, okay? So then let's go down to the find target function. And right on this line here, we're checking the distance, but then let's also see if we can see that target, okay? So if it's within the distance and we can see it, then we're going to add it to the target. And so hopefully if it's behind the wall, then this is going to return false. Let's see then, shall we? And there we have it. The chase is on. He's after us. We'll see if we can duck behind this wall here. And there we go. He's lost sight of us and he's going to continue patrolling. So that's it, folks. That brings us to the end of this episode. But don't you worry, there's much more to do yet. I think we'll move on to doing the doors and some locks and things in the next episode. But that is it for now. Thanks for watching. And if you like, I will upload all of this as a free model. So you can go and check it out and copy it into your own place. Build your own game or expand on it. Do what you like. See you guys later.